Yes.
Come in.
Okay. I'm coming in. You
Have you
okay?
ever thought, what are we doing here?
Like here as in TGAM Towers, or here as in the planet or
As in,
universe?
what actual work do we do? All we do is we say the name of the website, which is
Oh,
W.
it's www.thatguys.co.uk. Yeah, we've only got one job.
And then we say the name of the socials.
Yep. Which are like, well, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube at That Guy's a Maniac, all one word, lowercase.
All lowercase.
Yeah.
But there's no office. There's no one here. We don't do any work.
Well,
We just have these strange skits on a weekly basis, and then what is our job?
But we also just blink out of existence. We only exist for 1 week.
Can you remember? Do you have a home? Do we have families?
That would involve us having some kind of backstory.
I just don't understand. What is existence?
It's probably best not to question it too much.
Okay. What is this podcast about again?
Video games?
Video games. Okay. I guess I'll see you in another week for 2 to 3 minutes of talking about the name of the website.
Okay. Have a fun existential crisis.
I think we're going now. This is it. We're going.
Oh God! Look,
Any
we're fading
seconds.
like that
We're gonna
scene
go.
in Back to the Future. You know, where he's looking at the picture of his brother.
My hands. My arms. My mouth.
Ah, peaceful void.
End of this skit.
Oh wow, Fiend. Have we got to that point? Okay, right. Okay, good. Done. Office skip.
So,
I'm so glad I followed your cues.
yeah, it's very. You did a really good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, we 100% improvised those readers, in case you hadn't guessed. There's no script or rehearsals or anything. It's just off the top of our heads.
Yeah, you'd never guess.
Anyway, this week's podcast, for some reason, I don't really know why, but I've been playing a lot of games in a genre I like to call Sea Jank.
Sea Jank. And how do you spell Jank?
So the whole thing is SEA, as in the sea, the ocean, the water, where the fish live. And then Jank is JANK.
So, like the way the kids would say junk.
Jank. Yeah.
Jank.
Like
Yeah.
janky. Janky games.
Janky games. Okay,
yeah.
so these are like bug-ridden horrible games, or are they just
Yeah,
old
but
and
they're on
PS1-y?
they're on a theme. So every now and then, are you much of a H.P. Lovecraft fan of his writing? Not the man.
I know that he did Cthulhu, and that is
Yes.
about it for Lovecraft for me.
Yeah. Okay. I sort of like Lovecraft, but then I don't understand why there's so much popularity around Lovecraft. But when you think of Lovecraft, what do you think of? Or Lovecraftian things?
Cthulhu and
Yeah.
people wearing steampunk as well. Like steampunk people like Lovecraft, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Yeah. So it's
And did he not? Was he not also like quite like vampire stories as well?
not really. No, they were kind of So he wrote. I think within his life, he was kind of a not very successful writer. He's also huge racist and anti-Semitic, despite being married to a Jewish lady. But a lot of his stories, which I've now kind of put together under this Cthulhu mythos, were published in like pulpy horror story type things.
Yeah,
As much
yes,
as
horror. Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. Like with vampires, he was a horror writer, but yeah, did he? Oh, okay, sorry, go on.
it's
interrupting you.
horror, but it's kind of very everything. A lot of things are about madness and eldritch horrors and the unseen and the unspoken and
Oh, yeah.
all of that business. But as much as, and so some of the kind of elements or that become associated with Lovecraft are things like Cthulhu, and then shitty towns, I guess, like places called Darkwater and Innsmouth and Seaton. But as much as those elements, as well as like a bit of horror, body horror, madness, a part of as much as Lovecraft, for me, jankiness is also a big part of what makes something Lovecraft.
Okay, give me an example of Lovecraft Jank.
so it's kind of, so in his life, I'd say his literature was kind of janky, and it was published in like weird stories, these total trashy pulpy novels, and they were never really so all the Lovecraft we get today has been kind of curated and put together. But even Lovecraft literature today is janky. There's like because it's all public domain as well now. There's like hundreds of different The Complete Lovecraft, which isn't The Complete Lovecraft. There's The Call of Cthulhu gets reprinted over and over again. But then when you see it in other media like TV and film, so if you have Amazon Prime or Netflix or whatever, just type in Lovecraft and you'll see the kind of shit that comes up. Right? None of it's.
I mean, literally, my love trash. My love trash. Oh, there we go. Love jank. Knowledge comes from pop culture. Not even looking from that.
Yeah.
It's like it'll be Family Guy making fun of Cthulhu, or some like internet cartoon where a cat is more powerful than Cthulhu or something like that.
Yeah.
That sort of stuff.
Yeah. But there's not like Cthulhu isn't really in Lovecraft very much.
No, I know, but I think it's just because it has made its way into pop culture. Just even saying the word Cthulhu and stuff like that. Yeah.
But it's something really interests me because there's not much that really unites all this Lovecraft stuff. Some of the stories are like, well, that's just a kind of a knockoff Frankenstein, and a lot of the stories are in this kind of like really, I guess, 19th century tension stories, which just haven't aged very well. So it's all about these long, lavid descriptions, and the horror was so much that I could, barely express it, or I'm hastily writing my last letter and I can't convey to you the. And then they'll always.
So it's like the ADHDs are lucky to get to the end of a sentence. Yeah.
Yeah, and then a lot of it ends like that. The whole story will be on like for the short stories. The whole story will be on like the end sentence, where it's revealed that he was the killer all along, or the head was talking in the jar. Kind
of Reanimator? That Reanimator was around Lovecraft style, wasn't it?
Yeah. So he's written. I think there's like 4 Reanimator stories. So it's interesting because Lovecraft's work inspire lots of different things, but there isn't a huge amount of the source material. There's not really, although it's often referred to as the Cthulhu mythos, it's not particularly robust or tied together. And so just any weird, janky shit with tentacles, maybe an octopus-headed thing, can be said to be Lovecraftian.
Yeah, definitely. Anything like Kraken or something coming out the sea, or old gods, or even just the word Eldritch conjures up Lovecraft. But interestingly, you paused on body horror, which is actually last Halloween was a new thing, or a new term that had been I was made aware of. So what kind of body horror were you sort of talking about? Is it the Reanimator stuff?
It's the Reanimator stuff. So like quite talk about viscera and gore and things attached where they shouldn't be.
Okay.
and things popping out.
Because
Anyway,
the film Society, I guess that's probably got some Lovecraftian roots as well.
Yeah, well, when you look, you can see like this Lovecraft influence everywhere. But I think because it was so vague and not very specific,
he gets more accredited to him than he should, perhaps.
Yeah, and it's that public domain. So anyway, going back to what I was about Jankies, if you look up Lovecraft on Amazon Prime, whatever, everything there, and there's loads, right? There's documentaries, there's things which are described as Lovecraftian. There are films made of some of his short stories, but they're all like none of them are polished or by a big studio. You know, they're all kind of like almost amateurish home video, not home video, shaky cam, really bad prosthetics, and the same is true of.
Is it kind of grindhouse sort of stuff?
No, because it's not even
stylized enough to be grindhouse.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's just like, you know, Doctor Who levels of production value. Right? And then if you look at there's a role playing game called Call of Cthulhu, and it's adjacent to Dungeons and Dragons. It's almost been going as long, I think. But Dungeons and Dragons has all this nice branding and logos and a really nice website, and you kind of want to own all their books and cards and stuff. So really nice production values. And then Call of Cthulhu website looks like it was made in GeoCities, and if you ever see their products, they're just that quality's not there. Anyway, so this is kind of the jank, the Lovecraftian jank. And when it comes to video games, that's firmly where you find them. So any kind of like Lovecraft video game, if you look up on Metacritic, will always have the same profile of reviews. There'll be like a handful that are like 9 and 10, and inevitably the first 3 words of the review will be, if you like Lovecraft.
Yeah.
Then there'll be like the highest number will be around the 5, 6, 7.
Just to go off on a tangent, it's just the way that you're saying Lovecraft is definitely, I don't know, it sounds like a porn version of Warcraft. If you like Lovecraft, gosh, okay. But yeah, sorry, go on. Yeah.
And then there'll be a whole bunch of like 4, 3s, 2s and 1s. And if you jump down to those 4, 3, 2s and 1 reviews, they'll say, this game's kind of good, but just performance, graphics, cutscenes, sound, horrible. Jank. It's like, I don't know. So across film, TV, literature, but also video games, you'll never find a highly polished, I guess, AAA Lovecraft game. There's always some jankiness about it. And so this week, finally get there. Because there were loads of sales, March sales, is that a thing? I mean, I guess just every month there's sales right now on all these things.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there was a spring sale, and in about 2 weeks' time, we're going to get an Easter sale. Then there'll be a little lull before we get the summer sale, and so on.
So on Switch, there was a March sale, and on PlayStation, there was a horror sale, weirdly.
Okay, cool.
And so it encouraged me to pick up a bunch of Cthulhu Lovecraft games, which I was kind of interested in.
See, do you hear it? Like Lovecraft games, it's moved away from Lovecraftian horror. Like Lovecraft just sounds like, I don't know, like visual novels with anime girls.
Yeah. Well,
sorry.
It kind of is like that. So you get the semi-serious Eastern European bad voice acting Lovecraftian games, which will kind of be set in blah, blah, blah. Then you also get the cartoony, Cthulhu's having a dorm room party.
Yeah, that sort of stuff. Yeah.
You also get like Pulp Cthulhu, right, which is set in the modern era, and all this. Anyway.
So he's a barista. Yeah, that sort of stuff. Yeah.
So all these games which I looked at, I thought, I'd quite like to try those. Looked up reviews which say like, a bit janky. Okay, I'm not.
do
I'm
they?
not,
Do they, Farley? Do they say bit janky?
pretty much. Bit janky. I was like, okay, I'm not going to spend 50 quid in one case. Or
Well,
20 quid on it.
okay.
Yeah. But they were so brutally on sale that for less than £20, I picked up the 4 games that I'm going to talk about.
All right. Okay. Cool. So you got like the 90% off shenanigans. Yeah.
Yeah. Picked them up for virtually nothing. So the first one, which is by far the jankiest, but not. It's allowed to be janky, I think. It was only a couple of quid, and it was called Abyss: The Wraiths of Eden.
The what?
Abyss: The Wraiths of Eden.
Wraiths. Okay. Cool. Sorry about that.
And much like other Lovecraftian things, it's so derivative. So I watched the trailer and I thought, yeah, I'll buy it. I bet this game lasts, 2 to 3 hours. I'll buy it. So it's clearly Lovecraft inspired, and there's like dead bodies and octopuses and some giant squid type thing which features in the logo. But it's set in an underwater city that was supposed to be utopia. I don't know if you ever played. What's it called? Oh my god, what are those games with the big daddies?
Oh, oh my god, Bioshocks.
Thank you. Yeah, Bioshock.
Yeah.
So it's basically, hey, you remember Bioshock? Hey, you know Lovecraft. But instead of making it like a 3D action game, it's a hidden object.
Yes, it's a hidden object. So I've looked this up, and the what's it called? The developers Artifacts Mundi, and I know these guys only because they brought out a bunch of games on Windows phones, and they were like the only games you could get on Windows phone, and they were just basically, yeah, exactly what you said. Find hidden objects games.
Hidden object games, but
yeah,
I think I have. Maybe we all played hidden object games back in the day.
there's a place and a time for hidden object games.
There
it's
is.
not the worst thing in the world.
No, and I was actually
If it's good art.
I was pleasantly surprised that it's kind of hidden object game plus. So there are certain sections where you have to find here's a scene, find some hidden objects, and one of those objects will go with you. But there are cutscenes and there are puzzles, and it's nothing you've not seen before. So that that puzzle in Die Hard with a Vengeance with the canisters. You've got a 7 litre and a 5 litre.
Yes.
And you see that puzzle everywhere, right? So yeah, there's one of those in here.
They had one at the end of Resident Evil 2, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one where you have to, connect up a circuit. There's one where you have. So it's nothing particularly, novel or mind blowing.
Yeah, those mechanics don't exactly scream Lovecraftian horror, but yeah, go on.
No, they don't. And I guess the Wraiths of Eden are anyway, long story short, it turns out that underneath Eden, surprise, surprise, these underwater utopian things never seem to persist, as in Bioshock. And so there was an excavation that dug up a little idol, and then it started turning people into crazies. And you kind of solve that. And it's fine. It's one of the things I loved about it is it's very playable. It works as a game. There's like a one extra mission, which kind of gives you the backstory to one of the characters you meet. There's no triple currencies, there's no 1,000 hours worth of gameplay. So it's quite nice to just, I'm going to sit and pleasantly stroll through this game. Whilst I was playing it, I was like, it's kind of, when the original Resident Evil came out.
The original, like 96 sort of thing, yeah?
The original Resident Evil. I'm glad that some people are just like, we're just going to keep sort of making sort of Resident Evil games. Which this kind of is, really.
Is it? Okay.
Well, there are puzzles, there's a story.
Do you move about in a 3D environment?
You move around in a 3D environment.
Okay. The games that I remember were just straight up 2D. It was like a visual novel story, hidden object, puzzle, visual novel story, hidden object puzzle, that sort of thing. There was no moving
actually,
about.
Yeah, maybe you do click about. Yeah, maybe you do. Yeah, you do click around.
Okay.
So it's not quite Resident Evil. But yeah. It was fine. Hilariously,
It's fine. Brilliant.
Fine.
Is that your final review?
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
fine.
in terms of like whatever out of whatever, it won't score particularly highly. But in terms of being what I wanted it to be, it's gonna get like almost 100%.
Okay.
Got some Lovecraft elements. There'll be some puzzles, none of which will be particularly tricky. Did I use a guide? I don't think I used a guide. Once, because that's how brilliant and intelligent I am. But the cutscenes use this really weird. I recorded a bunch. I was going to tweet them. Maybe I did tweet them by the time this comes out. You'd have seen it in probably this same studio that you mentioned. What's the name of the studio?
Artifacts Mundi.
Yeah. So for the cutscenes, they kind of have these 3D models. Only the mouth moves.
Oh yeah. That's the 3D animation thing. Yeah. No. Yeah.
In a really disconcerting way, where just the mouth is moving around, whilst everything else in the scene is static. Which gets quite creepy. And there are octopuses and puzzles and some ancient one and old text in the bottom, and you solve the mystery, and then you get to escape Bioshock. What's the name of the place in Bioshock?
Oh, I have no idea. I haven't played it.
Yeah, me neither.
Of it.
Yeah, me too. I've been exposed to it.
Exposed to it to the point where I think I've seen enough of this game that I don't need to play it anymore.
There are little girls and big daddies and whatever that place is called. Probably Eden. Something.
I bet it is Eden. I bet it is.
Eden will have to be not a direct rip-off, but it'll be a pastiche of it.
Atlanti Eden.
Bioshock setting.
Rapture. Yes.
Yeah.
See,
and it has this...
Why do I know that? Or didn't know
Rapture.
that? Why does it ring a bell? Yeah.
And it's exactly the same setting, right? This kind of like Art Nouveau.
Yeah, it's the future, the retro future thing that Fallout and other games like that did as well.
Yeah, exactly that. You've got these very beautifully printed posters about civic responsibility in utopia. Anyways, that was Abyss, the Wraith of Eden, which I completely Wraiths of Eden, which I
Wraiths.
Wraiths of Eden, which I completed 100% golded. Sadly, I was not playing it on a platform where there were trophies because I imagine I would have got all of them. And then I moved on to Call of Cthulhu.
Okay, is this another Artifacts Mundi?
No, this one's slightly higher on the jank tree, but still nowhere near the top. So it's produced by Cyanide.
Cyanide, okay.
Yeah, which I remember looking at Call of Cthulhu because I remember a couple of people saying, "Oh, it's not too bad," which is praise for these kind of sea janks. But it was Cyanide, and I've got I think it was Blood Bowl on the 3DS, which I really enjoyed. But there was some game-breaking bug that would just stop. I've been working through a league and
on the DS. Oh, that's brutal, man. Brutal.
Yeah, and so just every time this at a certain stage in this 100th match in a league, the game would just crash. I think it was Cyanide. Anyway, so that was partly put me off, and then also I think it was like 40 quid.
Yeah.
Which is,
that price tag for potentially a broken game.
Yeah.
I know that feeling.
A bit too high. Anyway, so it was reduced to something like 80% off. So it was a $5. So I downloaded it for the PlayStation and played it, and it's really enjoyable.
Okay.
There are a few, graphically, this is exactly what the bottom half of the Metacritic reviews say. Graphically, it's not great. it's not the Unreal Engine at its best. But it pulls together stories which have kind of these Lovecraftian elements to them. What is detective mode in the Batman games?
Detective mode?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just detective mode.
But what kind of mechanic is it?
So I think detective mode was introduced actually in Origins, where you sort of rebuild the case.
Yeah.
And you sort of go back in time and you track it and you look through and you see, oh, the bullet came in through there, and then you have to find the other thing which it connects to and then scan it and that sort of thing. Yeah.
Okay. Call of Cthulhu has Batman detective mode.
Okay, cool.
And again, it's one of these things which has ended up as being something that's associated with Lovecraftian horror game media, is that there's investigators, which is weird because that's not really in the original works. That's something that's come later, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Call of Cthulhu is based on the role-playing game called Call of Cthulhu, and so it has a RPG mechanic behind it, which is okay. There's like maybe one or two decisions in the playthrough which require you to have maxed out one stat, and it's impossible to max out all the stats.
Okay, yeah.
To get the different endings. So it's kind of interesting, but not. Like, they didn't really lean into, okay, we're going to really use this RPG mechanic. So, if you dump your various skill points to different stats when you're having a conversation with somebody, you can use your psychology, or you can use your occultism, or you can use your medicine to ask extra questions, or do another way of solving a particular problem. So yeah, it's kind of cool. It takes you to you start in like a seaside town. It takes you to like an asylum, of course. Takes you to like an old mansion. There's lots of characters involved. You have to solve these, do these detective mode things to kind of work out the scenes. There's all kinds of eldritch horrors, which kind of jump out of the paintings and stuff like that. Very good. And of course, like many Lovecraftian works, there's various parts of it are around madness, which is kind of it's kind of cool, but I don't know. I think games and madness, they don't really do it very well. So there's things like
Amnesia did that whole madness gauge and things like that, and what was the other one, the GameCube one?
Yeah, Eternal Darkness.
Yeah.
Sanity's Requiem. So there are cool things you can do when it comes to madness in video games, like a bit like PT, where you're walking down the same corridor over and over again.
Yeah.
But I always feel more could be done. So there's a couple of cool madness sequences like that, where they play with, was it non-Euclidean space? Is that when you can walk down an endless corridor, or you can turn, you're in a padded cell and you turn around and you turn around and you turn around and there's no door to the padded cell type thing.
What did they call that? What did you call it?
Non-Euclidean space.
Non-Euclidean.
Yeah.
What does that even mean? Euclidean? Non-nuclear? Non-what?
After Euclides.
Euclidean. Oh, okay. So I was thinking like Newtonian or...
No, like... Yeah.
Who's Euclides anyway?
Euclides.
What?
Did you ever watch Ulysses, the cartoon?
I remember Ulysses, yeah.
Ulysses.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Well, he was one of them.
Was he? And he's got a game mechanic named after him.
No, he's got a geometry named after him, even better.
He's got a geometry? Oh, wow.
It's a non-Euclidean geometry.
I don't even remember any of the characters from Ulysses. If you were to tell me anything about it, I'd probably mix it up with Jason the Wheeled Warriors, and then I would sing the Ulysses song. That's it.
Euclides wasn't in His name wasn't even Euclides. It wasn't in Ulysses, even though they sound sort of similar. What is his name? Euclidean axioms, Euclidean geometry. Yes, Euclid. His name's just Euclid. Sometimes called Euclid of Alexandria, not to be confused, Richie, with Euclid of Megara.
Oh, good old Euclid of Megara. If you were talking about him, I'd have known what you're talking about. So what is his geometry? Why does he get a geometry named after him?
He gets a geometry. He described it. We all know that he described this in his textbook on geometry, the elements. And it consists in assuming a small set of intuitively appealing axioms and deducing many other propositions. Anyway, the way I use it, probably incorrectly, is like a geometry that can't exist in real life.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Cool. A geometry. I love how it's become a singular thing.
Yeah. A geometry. So yeah, it's fine. I only got 2 of the endings. You have to play through 2 out of 4 of the endings. You have to play through the whole game, maxing out one particular stat versus the other to get it. But one of the things that annoys me when you think of like madness mechanics in video games, which sort of cool. I think like the 2 we've mentioned already are good examples of that. Silent Hill 4, of course, is a really good example of that. And it's games that kind of play with you. I don't know if there's laws about what you can and can't do in video games. Because they can really fuck you up. If you think about, how would you even describe them? You know, like all the creepypasta demos, I guess?
Yeah.
They're like short web games, which will, have Slender Man in them, or they'll be set in some...
Yeah, exactly. I think Slender Man, did they not like do a crossover with Amnesia as well?
Probably, yeah. And probably in one of those.
And then, of course, you've got Control, which is the SCP Foundation as well.
Yes, yeah. So all those kind of games which play on the idea of, as you turn around, you see something in the corner of your eye, and you turn around again and it's not there, or there's clearly a bloodied image on a wall, and all that kind of stuff, which I think is really cool. But then a lot of games don't lean into it too much, I think. So it can be quite distressing, I guess. I don't know.
What was that one that I played that I quite liked? The one that was the walking simulator, but everything went crazy and mad.
I don't know.
It was the painting one. The mad. Oh God. You know the one that I'm talking about.
Amnesia?
No, it wasn't Amnesia.
Machine for Pigs or whatever it's called.
No. It's the painting. It's like life painting, painting, or something is art. Oh God. This is such great quality podcast material. Listen to Richie name the film
painting,
about
Layers of Fear.
Layers of Fear. Yes, that was it. Yeah. That was okay. It's well worth derailing your topic to remember the name of it.
One I guess mechanic in madness inspired games that really pisses me off, and it particularly pissed me off in Call of Cthulhu, is passing out. You know when your character passes out. And in this game, you pass out about 20 fucking times. I just find it really lazy. Really lazy. Because, you can change scene.
Yeah.
Stuff can happen. You can reset. Yeah. So, whilst playing this game, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to pass out again, aren't I? Oh, look, wake up some new space. Wake up in an asylum. Wake up in a thing. Wake up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. There you go. So if you're making a Lovecraftian horror game, don't cheese in. Don't just readily deploy passing out as a way to change from one chapter to another. It's lazy.
It's really lazy. I know exactly where you're coming from on that. It bugs me.
Yeah. Particularly bugs me. That'd be my only complaint. Other than that, the game worked.
It worked.
Okay,
cool.
There's no crashing. It did though, and I don't even maybe you can explain this to me, as you're slightly more of a computer man than me. So I was playing it with headphones on.
Yeah.
And when the game was loading up, from one area to another, often after you just passed out, the loading bar would make a really strange noise. I think you can only pick up on headphones.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, like not like in a creepy way. Just in how is a loading bar making the game make a strange?
Yeah. No, that doesn't make sense. Have you googled it?
No, because I wouldn't even know how to.
Loading bar sound. What was the name of the game?
Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah, just Google that.
Okay.
I'll do it. You continue talking about it.
Okay. That was the only the only kind of slight functioning gameplay jankiness that I came across. Other than that, it's a decent game, and again, quite nice in that I think I played it over the course of a day. There is replayability there, but yeah, you don't have to sign your life away to it. And thoroughly enjoyed it.
Okay.
Yeah. Not too sure the RPG trappings. One of the annoying... So the way that the Call of Cthulhu role-playing games work is unlike something like D&D, where you roll a d20 and add your modifiers or whatever. Your stats in Call of Cthulhu are percentages, and you roll a d100, and you have to get beneath your percentage roll.
Wow.
And so there are a couple of occasions, where you'll be investigating something or chatting to somebody, and some things will say, you can only choose this option if you've maxed out your occult stat. So you'll see it, but it won't be available to you.
Yeah.
And others will be try, to basically make a roll against your whatever. But it doesn't actually show you the roll. There's no dice that appear or whatever. And it's not very clear if you pass or if you fail. Like, it's not clear from the outcome if you passed or if you failed, which I found a little bit frustrating. And again, they just didn't, if you're going to have the RPG mechanics, follow them properly. Don't half integrate them. Would be my other complaint.
Yeah.
Any joy on why a loading bar would make?
No, I saw one thing about stuttering sound. So it may be just that it's only you, or indeed it is just actually a little jankiness in the code. The Lovecraft seeping through.
Yeah, I just don't understand how.
No, but nobody else seems to have said anything about it. I would do a Twitter post about it. Shove it on at that guy's a maniac, all one word, lowercase, Twitter, and let's ask those guys. Loading bar does this thing. Is it meant to do this thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe you'll end up with the golden ticket to go and visit their factory.
the
games factory. Yeah.
And maybe I can bring my copy of Blood Bowl along and get him to fix that whilst I'm at it. So I can continue my.
I don't think you're welcome anymore.
You thought I was just coming to find out about why the loading bar makes noises, but aha! I actually just want to continue with my rather good Skaven team, if I do say so myself. The last game I got, again, Lovecraft, explicitly Lovecraft themed, this one, and the biggest discounted one was The Sinking City. So if Abyss, the Wraiths of Eden is like, what if we did a hidden object game with Lovecraft? And Call of Cthulhu was, what if we did a Mass Effect? Skyrim?
Yeah.
What if we did Skyrim? Well, it's not really combat. What if we did Skyrim with Lovecraft? And then The Sinking City is what if we did GTA in a Lovecraft theme, but without all the cars. It's like an open world type thing. And you start in a sinking city. There's a detective mode, which you use to solve crimes.
Lovely.
By looking at the cues. The streets are all muddy and there's dead fish and octopuses everywhere. And the characters are strange. I've only played a little bit of it. So this was the one that was initially like 50 quid. And there's 4 or 5 DLCs to it.
What was it called again?
The
Sorry?
Sinking City.
The Sinking City.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've only sort of played the first mission, I guess. But really, really liking it. From what I've seen so far, kind of really taking inspiration from some of the Lovecraft stories and characters. So there's these 3 powerful families in this city, which is sinking. So there's this flood event which caused the people of Innsmouth, I think.
Innsmouth again. You talking about this one? Yeah.
They were like fish people, so they're like normal people, but they have fish-like features, which everyone says a bit weird and they're a bit racist towards them, but something to do with the blessing of the sea. So yeah, you just accept it. And then there's these 3 powerful families running this town, which you play through, and one of them looks like a gorilla, and there's a Lovecraft story about some guy who probably had sex with a gorilla goddess type thing. That's the reveal at the end of this really long story that talks about like 3 generations of this particular, 5 generations of this particular family, all of which had these doomed endings. But the revelation at the end, spoilers for whatever Lovecraft story it is, I think it's like the tale of somebody German, is that their great-grandfather probably bonked a lady gorilla goddess, and that's why they all look like, that's why they all have freakily long arms. Anyway, so there's this family of like gorilla-looking people. You play as this detective who's a veteran. They all have these same elements. So a lot of them will talk about were involved in the First World War or veterans of the First World War.
So it's madness, PTSD madness.
Yeah, exactly. They've gone through trauma and they've seen that, and so you start off with like a hallucination, and then you solve this first crime, which is this gorilla man's son has gone missing, and you know that they went on some deep sea exploration, blah 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 blah. The water's creeping in. Really liking it so far, and this looks like it's going to be the largest of them. It's a sprawling map for you to kind of explore. I don't know quite how much, if you can just go and explore every bit of it. There's lots of characters to talk to. There's weird things crawling around in the street. You do actually have combat, unlike the other 2. But it is janky, like every single cutscene. So it's a talkie game, right? So like L.A. Noire. Basically. Yeah. Every time you enter a conversation with somebody, the first 2 seconds of their face, you see them glitch from their standing around in the environment animation to, oh, you're talking to me now animation. Minor things like, lots of things clipping through other things. It's quite annoying sometimes to align your character with a clue and press the look at clue button. Like, all these like little niggly bits and pieces, as well as a lot of environmental pop-in, which you get at this place. So yeah, janky, but I'm quite excited. I mean, yeah, it was definitely with those typical Lovecraft game reviews. I was like, 50 quid is a lot, but this was all bundled together for I think £12.
Nice.
Yeah, including like 2 DLCs, and then in a way that I think you only. So I got it on Switch. The way you only get with Switch is because some of these really old games have now been released and bundled together. You just get like fun DLC stuff. So after I downloaded this game and I was on the eShop, it's like, you have a Chicago typewriter gun as a free download. Have 2 experience points as a free download. As a like mini incentive, I guess. So I'm looking forward to playing through more of that. That's the one I started with, and then I played through the other 2, and then I'm kind of saving that because I think there's a lot more to it. And again, seems to be some sort of morality, multiple ways to go through the story. So in the first case that I did, I could choose this or this.
Is the story worth it? Like, I'm guessing what is really kind of making these games and sort of absorbing the Lovecraftianness about it is the story. Is the story worth it to you at this point?
Yeah, I think so. The Sinking City, I'm particularly interested because
of the gorilla bonking.
No, or to see if is each case. Because I think it's like an LA Noire setup. Is each case going to take inspiration from a different Lovecraft story?
Oh, okay, cool.
Are we going to have a reanimator case to solve? Are we going to have a blah 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 case to solve? So that's what I'm quite interested in that. The Call of Cthulhu, even though it directly takes its name from a short story called Call of Cthulhu, there are Lovecraftian elements in a really vague, loose kind of way. But I think the story they come up with is original. It's quite a good story as well, with a revelation at the end.
No spoilers, dude.
The voice was coming from the jar. Yeah, so looking forward to Sinking City. And there are some. It's not the greatest looking game, but there are cutscenes. There's a camera mode. 3D action. So yeah, quite looking forward to playing through the rest of that. Janky as it may be. Yeah.
And do you have any other Lovecraftian jank under your belt that you bought?
Well, my last game isn't really Lovecraftian jank. It's not really jank at all, but it's loosely sea related. And a nice little palate cleanser. It's a tiny game called Seashell.
Seashell. Okay.
Yeah. It's on Steam and Nintendo Switch. I think it's less than.
Incidentally, all of the games you just said are on Steam as well.
Yes. Oh yeah. And I think they were all probably originally on Steam and have been ported to.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
A lot of Eastern European developers, I think, for a lot of these Lovecraft type things. Anyway, Seashell has nothing to do with Lovecraft. It's not particularly janky.
Okay. I'm gonna read the synopsis on Steam.
Okay.
Relax. Makes time for yourself and collect unique and beautiful gifts from the sea. Examine seashells whilst learning all about them in this short, experimental game about our favourite place to unwind.
Yeah, it's a really nice palate cleanser from watching a man pull out his own arm through his mouth in an asylum. So just
yeah.
Well, this is a nice muscle. Oh, here's a nice muscle. Oh, here's a nice abalone. It's really that's what you do. It's really fun. It's really short as well. It's an hour. You'd happily be done with it in an hour. I think there is extra levels to go.
Brilliant. And the developer there is High Tea Frog.
Yeah, IT Frog.
Yeah. They also did Cake Bash, so that might be one to look out for.
Yeah. Just a nice relaxing game. And for me, it makes me wish. Well, maybe when our financials are in this year, it makes me wish for another sort of esports. So instead of having an esports around a fighting game or a shooting game, you have an esports around Seashell. Did you ever play that stone skimming game from Wii Motion Plus?
Yes.
You pick up pebbles and you skim them, and then maybe the most relaxed fishing game you could find. So not one of the intense ones with mega points and just have
combo multipliers.
Yeah. No, just the most quietest, relaxed, just waiting for a long time fishing, and have those three as competitive things on a big stage at esports tournament.
Wow, who can be the most chilled?
Yeah, a whole wholesome esports. Who can skim the stone? Because I just love to see, who's the best people at skimming stones on that Wii Motion game, or picking up seashells of slightly different sizes in seashells.
I have to say that out of all of the games that you've mentioned, I'm most intrigued by the picking up seashells game. I don't know why. Oh dear.
Yeah, it comes to when you pick them up as well.
I've added it to my wish list.
Good, yeah. I mean, it's pennies. Really, is actually.
Well, it's $2.99.
It's cheaper than a pound. What else can you buy for $2.99 in the real world?
In the real world, if you go back to 2002, you could probably buy about 30 cans of Tesco Value beans.
Oh yeah, during the beans wars. You buy 10 loaves of bread. It was during the beans and loaf of bread wars that were going on. Yeah, okay. Well, maybe it'll go on sale. It gives you little notes about what animals make the shells. Yeah, very nice. Highly recommend.
That's cool.
And a really good
edutainment.
Edutainment and a little bit chillax in between the body horror cult worshipping.
yeah, because sometimes you need a palate cleanser, exactly as you sold it initially. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, rather than trudging through streets of gore and fish guts. So there we go. That's been my week of Sea Jank.
Nice. That sounds like a good collection. You certainly managed to get some time out of what perhaps were mediocre games. So that's quite cool.
Yeah. I think going in with low expectations, picking them up in a sale, taking them for what they are, and not having high expectations.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I've got about 100 games on the Epic Store, which I've got for free.
Yeah.
But just I don't know. This game's only got 8 out of 10. Is it really worthy of my time? No, I'm going to spend, 70 quid on Final Fantasy VII Remake instead.
Yeah, and then not play that either.
yeah, exactly. Just go back to playing my subscription-based World of Warcraft and pretend that I can do a gaming blog without playing any other games. Yeah, exactly. Right. Existential crisis.
Hey, there must be loads of Cthulhu shit in Warcraft, no?
Oh yeah, there is. There is. In the original Vanilla WoW, there was an expansion called The Gates of Anchorage.
Oh yeah.
And the end boss of that character was basically a great big multi-eyed spherical thing in the room called Cthulhu.
Right.
So C apostrophe.
Well, of course, there's an apostrophe. Yeah.
But basically, all the way through the game, all the way through the instance, he whispers you. And says, but he doesn't actually. There's no text comes up. You just occasionally hear, "You will betray your friends," or "Die," things like that. So you as you're walking through this instance, you're just getting this occasional whisper, like you'll be in the midst of combat and loud noises, people throwing spells, and then you'll just hear, these little snippets of text. It's good fun. It's the madness. It's the mad gods. And
exactly.
There is a lore in World of Warcraft as well about the mad gods and things like that. So Cthulhu, his story was, he actually was a person, and his body's got so manipulated by madness that he now looks like this big spherical sort of what would you call it, those sea creatures that have anemones, sea anemones.
Yeah, I was just looked it up. Really disappointed with the character design.
Yeah, I mean,
it looks friendly.
Well, yeah, I mean, he also has eye stalks and tentacles and things like that.
And
again, one of my crowning glories was to get the tentacle of Cthulhu and make anime uwu jokes and stuff like that.
Hey, what does the tentacle of Cthulhu do?
It just does damage, but basically a tentacle comes out the ground. It's a trinket that you can have. Yeah, it's quite good.
Is it a good Hearthstone card?
What, Cthulhu?
Yeah.
I've no idea. I don't think I was in an expansion that I played. Remember that I kind of stopped after the first few expansions of Hearthstone.
It's true. Man, maybe I should get a Warcraft subscription just to hunt down all the Lovecraft Jank and do a Lovecraft.
I mean, yeah, go for it. Sure. You're probably better off doing that in retail. I'm sure they actually have a whole section for collectors to collect Cthulhu-related shenanigans. Anyway, right, I don't want to hijack this podcast. This was all about yours. You asked me a Warcraft question. That should be where it stops.
Okay.
But I think we should end it. Yeah. So, that guy's a maniac.
I can't think of anything. Why? What did Cthulhu whisper?
Your friends will betray you.
Okay, let's do that. Okay.
Okay.
We can.
That guy's a maniac.
Your friends will betray you.
Cool. I have another thing, just to snip it at the end of this, and whether we include it or not, as a little bonus.
Ooh.
I noticed that we use yeah an awful lot, and it's become a sort of meme as well that I've noticed more and more people saying, oh yeah, or yeah, and it's just like this emphatic repetition of yeah, and I've just become aware of it.
Have you just ruined the podcast for? Not
Probably. I mean,
our readers, but also for us. We're listening to it when you're editing it.
What?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just something that I've noticed creeping into the public conscious as well. This yeah, or even like as a sort of ironic thing as well. And they're on just yeah. I know what you're talking about. You know, I just a weird thing. I don't know where it came from, how it's come about. It's a meme in its most literal sense, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, how these things, because often they start off as something you deride, right? So now I do occasionally catch myself saying, like, completely unironically, boom,
yeah.
Just
I use it in
work. The chicken nuggets are on sale, boom. So, when did that? How did that? I'm sure that went from something I was like, oh god, what a horrible thing to say.
Yes.
As to now, just I couldn't even stop myself from doing it if I wanted to.
Yeah, it's a weird evolution of speech, and I wonder if it's because we were like older, looking in, like the use of like the term "sick" and things like that. It's so weird. Like I remember being a teenager growing up saying, "Oh, that is sick. That is so sick."
Yeah.
I mean, we still do it to this day, but
yeah,
it's horrible. Like, oh man, that TV is so sick. Let's conjure up the image of Vomitus whilst looking at this massively nice television.
Everything was sick. And then it transgresses into sick means bad.
Yeah.
Because you're saying it sarcastically. So, oh yeah, no, that's really sick, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So interesting. Oh, language.
Yeah. Like,
yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's creeping in, and I don't know. Like, I have no idea where it sort of has its origins. There might even be like a.
Is it like what song is it? Is it Destiny's Child? Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Nah, I doubt that's a thing. But yeah, it's
Yeah. I can't remember what song that comes from.
But I'm sure there's some Reddit post about yeah, and its etymology somewhere. If not, there should be, and it should get upvoted. Right. Anyway, let's shut up.
Let's go Reddit. Do your thing.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. You're doing it now. Stop
it. I swear, it's not even conscious anymore.
Yeah. End the podcast. End.
It's ended. Edit.